Welcome, everyone. This is Kit Lisle, and you have joined our webinar on Second Opinions for CEOs. Let's go ahead and get started because we've reached the appropriate time, and this webinar, again, is about providing a second opinion for your CEOs. So why is that? What's the problem? You want to trust your management teams to make the best decisions possible, but once in a while, you do have a nagging doubt, and you wonder, how can we be helpful for management without asking them to spend a whole lot of time or money or resources, but also without being seen as Big Brother? So that's what we're here to talk about, the benefits or takeaways that you'll gain from listening to, watching this webinar. Number one, you'll learn about a best practice in portfolio management. Secondly, you'll find a quick, affordable, simple way to gain help for your portfolio companies when they need it. Third, this is a way to empower your CEOs, and you'll see how we do that, empower them rather than confronting them with doubt. Fourth, monitor progress of portfolio companies. And last but not least, benchmarking portfolio companies against one another. So this solution is quick, affordable. It's a market feedback tool that enhances people's confidence when they're making important decisions. It can be used for decision support, tracking, benchmarking, as we just said. It matters primarily because it could confirm or refute a major decision about a presumed opportunity or, for that matter, a presumed threat or risk. It also enables tracking of progress against known customer needs, and it facilitates comparisons of portfolio companies against one another in terms of key metrics. So what we want is to steer management teams to make the best decisions possible. But of course, nobody wants to play Big Brother. Do we trust management to make the right decision and hope they're not leading us to Jonestown? Well, yes, we do that. Do we let them choose their own door to proceed through and then allow them to fail and replace them and waste a lot of time and money doing that? And certainly that's not fun. We also have to do that sometimes. And then the last one is not likely to happen, but maybe we can find a crystal ball and help the CEO make those decisions. So what we're trying to do really is mitigate all three of those and find a better solution here. So hypothetically, let's just say management teams face this kind of decision all the time. They have a new product idea. They want to sell it through a new channel to go after a new group of customers, and they think that they will be successful with that. Is the answer yes or no? Well, perhaps the best course of action is to embark upon a consulting study, but for reasons we'll discuss in a minute, that probably won't happen. Another option is to reach out to some industry experts, some friends, maybe some association contacts. Maybe salespeople can provide input. They have their finger on the pulse of what the customer wants, presumably, and they should know. But in reality, what often happens is probably the worst possible situation where we rely on one person's gut instinct, and that one person, of course, is the CEO. But we'd like to offer another option, and that is of course, the second opinion sanity check service from Aclaro. So in addition to outperforming Kool-Aid and crystal balls and untested assumptions, the value proposition here really boils down to 4 items. The first one you can see there, it can confirm or refute your own internal opinions about an opportunity. Secondly, we can track company progress against known customer needs, wants, wishes, frustrations. We can compare portfolio companies across key metrics. And then finally, if a company has a list of presumed opportunities and we know they can't knock them all out of the park in year 1, which one should they focus on in the first year? So how does this process work? How do we do it? We've been using this same process for many years, and I'll just kind of break it down for you. This is primary research as well as secondary on a qualitative basis as well as quantitative, and we do it in a blind way. So Specifically blind means we're not going to reveal that we're working on behalf of a specific portfolio company. We won't acknowledge the relationship we have with you, their investors. We're doing this as part of a big, broad industry study. Primary research, what does that mean? That means we're having direct one-on-one communications with the key stakeholders, movers, shakers in a particular market. They may be customers or prospects or competitors or market experts. Qualitative, that means we're having interactive, in-depth, subjective conversations with key contacts in which we can say why, when, how, let me disagree with you. Quantitative is what we're most familiar with. That's surveys, yes, no, ABC, 1, 2, 3. I agree, I strongly disagree. And then secondary, what does that word mean? It means that some other person, some other entity has written about, published, blogged about something that's germane to this particular industry. Since we focus on rather obscure, niche-y sub-segments, secondary research is typically not that helpful, but we avail ourselves of whatever is. Okay, enough for the methodology. Let's move on to another scenario, another situation. Management might have 3 opportunities to pursue, and you'll see those over on the right. They're excited about all of them, but which one should they focus on? Well, they could articulate fairly well to us what the criteria would be that would constitute an attractive market. We had to work with them a little bit. Then they were able to prioritize or weight each of those criteria. Some got a stronger weighting than others. And they had some assumptions that maybe the hotel market would be the most attractive, but they weren't entirely sure, which is why they reached out to us. This was a very simple, very fast assessment to confirm or refute some of their assessments. Their problem was they just didn't have the access to the data that they needed to definitively say the hotel market was the most attractive segment. Turns out it was not. It turns out the academic market was fairly significantly more attractive using their criteria than the other 2. Another scenario or situation, we wanted to confirm or refute some opinions about an opportunity, but also confirm or refute some poor decisions that related to some concerns they had about the market. Those are all hypotheses, 4 different hypotheses here. The ones on the left are opportunities, the ones on the right are concerns. So we confirmed half and we refuted the other half. And again, we did this fairly quickly and easily. We saved time and money by speaking only to competitors and market contacts and not to customers, but there's a number of ways that this could have been done. All right, another scenario. When we did our original market due diligence, commercial due diligence, business diligence on a target, we found 3 areas that were a little disconcerting, 3 weaknesses. And when we followed up with the portfolio company and with the board to ask how they were progressing against those known weaknesses, we heard kind of a surprising degree of lack of clarity, shall we say. And so what we said was, well, it would be really nice if we redid the same study but focused only on those 3 areas that are known weaknesses, ask the questions exactly the same way of the exact same set of customers, and see how those scores are improving over time. One thing to consider is we can also assess and track over time a number of key performance indicators. At one portfolio company, for example, that we worked with, a key issue was retention of critical salespeople. So we had to track, first of all, figure out who the critical people were and how to retain them, and then how were we doing over time at retaining them. So that was interesting as well. Here's an example of a benchmarking study highly focused on only one topic, Net Promoter Scores. Now, we could benchmark your company's performance across any number of metrics. Some examples could include, what's the proclivity to switch or to change suppliers? How difficult would it be for them to switch or change suppliers? What is their self-proclaimed degree of loyalty, say on a scale of 1 to 5? How tolerant would they be of a price increase of 5%? What about 10%? What about 15%? What is the delta between the company's growth rate and what we determine to be the overall market growth rate. How is each company progressing against strategic plans, core objectives? So you can see if you laid all those out and compared each portfolio company one against the other in some of those key metrics, it could be very interesting and revealing perhaps in terms of potential for growth. So at Aclaro, we conduct research for private equity groups and portfolio companies, and in doing that, we have certainly done our share of strategy consulting assignments. What we've noticed is CEOs of middle market and especially lower middle market companies get dragged into these engagements kind of kicking and screaming. Why is that? They have, in many cases, never seen actionable research data. They have never hired a strategy consultant. They have historically made decisions on the fly, from the hip, finger in the wind, without really any research or ground truth facts to substantiate decisions that they've made. Why is that? Well, it's because for years, these CEOs have been very successful doing it their way. And strategy consultants cost a lot of money, and they take time, and they can be a distraction. Middle market CEOs, in many cases, just don't have the temperament or patience or stomach for those kinds of engagements. And so sometimes we can do a fantastic job as a consulting firm, but maybe they won't implement or execute the results that we come back with or the opportunities that we point out. What we realize, though, is if we view many of the portfolio company assignments that we have worked on not as a strategy project, but through the lens of, hey, we just need a simple second opinion here, there's a lot of opportunities to work with portfolio companies doing just that type of work. So a couple drivers over time, something has changed, and it's adversely impacting our market or ourselves. What do we do about that? That doesn't have to be a huge project. It doesn't have to be a strategy project. The second one there, growth opportunities abound. How do we prioritize? I showed you a slide a few back that dealt with exactly that. This can be a second opinion kind of project. And then, of course, there are acknowledged needs for just basic, simple data. We do that as well. So when we think about second opinion, 3 project types. Number 1, second opinion is a quick, affordable market feedback tool that enhances confidence in decision-making. It can confirm or refute your own internal opinions about an opportunity. It can be used to track progress over time. And then lastly, it can be used for benchmarking purposes. You can see you've got some situations and scenarios in the middle and some timing options or thoughts on the right. We can go into more detail on that if you'd like, one-on-one individually. So some thoughts here. Our suggestion is really just try us out with a project if you haven't already. It doesn't have to be project-based, however. That's the first way to sort of view this. Some of the folks that I've spoken with so far have thought of this more as a portfolio company subscription model, where you give the opportunity to the entire portfolio, and maybe 1 or 2 decide that this is worthwhile. They see the need for 3 or 4 projects in the course of a year. And then the third possibility is maybe the private equity group mandates that everybody needs to do at least 1 second opinion project per year. I've also had some people say, hey, you should probably just sell this as a group of 10 assignments, and we'll allocate which portfolio companies get, those 10 assignments. A number of ways to do it. Point is, we're flexible. Our intent really is just to start the conversation. We're flexible in terms of the approach and the scope and the output. We want this to be impactful and actionable and meaningful and valuable here for you and for your portfolio companies. So I've obviously recorded this. It's available or will be available on our website. You could email me, kit@aclaropartners.com. You'll see that on the next slide. We could also do a phone call. So aclaropartners.com is the website. My email is kit@aclaropartners.com. Phone number you can see there in the bottom right. Look forward to working with you. And as this slide says, we look forward to learning about what's keeping you up at night, because it's in those challenging scenarios, concerns, that we can really earn our keep. There's a little bit more about Aclaro Partners. That's it for now. We welcome to have a dialogue with you about how second opinion sanity checks can help you, your portfolio company CEOs, and their management teams. Thanks very much.